Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Tonight on Our News, chaos at some polling stations as thousands vote early. A former PM raises concerns about the polls becoming a super spreader event. And Hubert Ingram finally votes after being turned away. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, from confusion and miscommunication to long lines and arguments, it was an eventful and sometimes chaotic day as thousands of Bahamians voted in the advance poll. This afternoon, the acting parliamentary commissioner announced the advance poll for Family Island constituencies at Bishop Michael Eldon Complex at the University of the Bahamas has been extended until 8:30 p.m. We've got live team coverage tonight, beginning with Jillian Gray, who joins me from the Parliamentary Registration Department.
Well, Christina, while other polling divisions may have been relatively quiet and orderly, the Anatole Rogers polling division was inundated with challenges as voters came to cast their vote in 3 constituencies.
It was a kaleidoscope of red, yellow, green, and black as supporters of the various parties stood shoulder to shoulder at the gate of Anatole Rogers, confused as to how many representatives were to be let inside.
One person, because of this COVID emergency dispensation that we're in, would be in from each party. And they all understood that, and then things started to move smoothly.
When Chief Superintendent Hines quelled that problem, another one arose. Who would be the first in the gate to cast their ballot? The elderly and disabled were packed like sardines, and the pushing and shoving even caused one woman to hyperventilate.
It's like a chaos. You understand? See, if they had the barricade and everybody be behind the barricade, this one would be pushing and shoving and this and that like that.
There were only about a handful of officers to manage the crowd. Party supporters tried to assist in organizing voters, but to no avail. Vehicular traffic extended all the way to Cowpen Road. When the police commissioner came, he allowed everyone to go inside and line up in front of their polling division. Nora Cox, who was first on the line at 6:30 a.m., said she didn't get inside until after 9 a.m.
The senior officer said they take in senior citizens and disabled. And I told him that I'm disabled, my son is needed to come in to help me, and they didn't let him in. And so you're probably gonna have to bring him back, but I doubt he's gonna vote.
Presiding officer for Golden Gates, David Cates, says he was apologizing all morning for the over 2-hour wait, but COVID-19 has slowed their procedures.
I'm apologizing to the crowd of people here for Golden Gates for the delay. But inside the polling division, we are taking maybe 1 or 2 people at a time.
While opening the gate solved the traffic problem, the sheer number of people casting in that constituency caused lines to bob and weave throughout the school.
They should have had a different section set up for elderly folks. We got some folks here walking with cane and they're out in the hot sun.
This is different. And for the seniors, I thought, it would have been more organized and, the seniors would go in. But I'm disappointed.
Now, with all of the challenges, Mr. Cates said that they were hoping for an on-time closure, and when we passed there just after 6 p.m., they were winding down. Reporting from the Parliamentary Registration Department, I'm Jillian Gray. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Jillian. Well, former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram and his wife arrived at Gambier Primary School to vote this afternoon, only to be told their names weren't on the list for the advance poll. However, the matter was cleared up and they cast their ballots hours later. He spoke with Berthany McDermott, who is at F&M headquarters.
That's right, Christina. The former Prime Minister and his wife went to Gambier Primary this afternoon, expecting to cast their votes in the advance poll. However, after walking from one polling station to the other, they later found out that their names weren't on the list. The former Prime Minister then hopped in his Jeep and left.
I'm not voting because my name is on the register to vote today.
It's not.
Even though I have this from the Parliamentary Registration Department, myself and my wife. I've been to 2 polling divisions so far, and my name is not there.
After arriving at Gambia Primary School around 1 p.m., the former Prime Minister and his wife left Gambia Primary without getting the opportunity to cast their ballots. 3 hours later, the Ingrams returned after officials reached out and explained that there was a glitch.
We were then advised that our names were on the list, and the Parliamentary Commissioner called me, apologized for the error, and I said I would come back and vote today.
Despite the blunder, Ingram explained why he saw it important to vote in the advance poll.
If your name is on the list for today and you don't vote today, they then have to take your cards, your counterfoil, put it back in the register for next week, in the box for next week, and put your name back on the register. There's lots of opportunity for errors to be made if that happens.
Ingram, who served as Prime Minister for 3 non-consecutive terms, joined thousands of Bahamians who voted in the advance poll. At some polling stations, constituents piled up outside with little social distancing. While he described his experience as smooth, the former North Abaco MP said more could have been done to improve operations.
I think that the authorities ought to do a better job at ensuring that there is social distancing, that there are adequate number of polling stations so that large numbers of people don't have to be crowded at one place, that there are people outside who are able to tell you you are to go to polling division number 5 and that's situated over here or over there, etc. I think there's much that could be done to improve the flow of voters if the authorities would take those basic steps.
Now, Christina, while he admitted that more could have been done at other stations to assist those there, he's still advising residents to get out and vote, but to do everything they can to protect themselves in the process. Coming to you live from F&M headquarters, I'm Berthany McDermott. Christina?
Thanks, Berthany. And former Prime Minister Perry Christie says it's logical to expect that the 2021 general election will be a super spreader event following the decision to call an election during a pandemic. He was among hundreds of early voters at Gambia Primary School today. Jasmine Brown has that.
Thanks, Christina. Well, the former Prime Minister was happy to say he cast his vote today. However, when it comes to holding a snap election in the middle of a pandemic, he says it's not exactly a good idea.
Once the Prime Minister decided to use his constitutional powers to call an election in the middle of a pandemic, the logical conclusion would be that he's running the risk of a super spread campaign. In other words, all areas of the campaign would cause there to be an increase in the amount of people affected.
Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis called a snap election during the country's worst surge of COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. Put bluntly, Christie says Dr. Minnis is courting disaster.
It is really a disastrous decision to do that. But under our Constitution, he has the right to call it when he thinks it's best for him. And he thought it was best for him. The people of the Bahamas, again, will respond, and the results will say whether or not they approve of what he's done.
The former PLP leader made the comments moments after he cast his vote in the advance poll at Gambia Primary School. He said despite the pandemic, Bahamians should get out and vote. PLP leader Philip Brave Davis also cast his vote at the Western New Providence School and encouraged Bahamians to exercise their constitutional right.
Those who are registered to please come out and vote. Let us make up for those who are unable to and who wish to, but for the snap calling of the election. What I say to people who want to vote in the pandemic, just follow the COVID protocols. Wear your mask, sanitize your hands, and just stay safely distanced from other voters. Once you engage in that process, you have minimized your risk of being infected by COVID.
For those who did cast their votes at Gambia Primary, like former Governor General Dame Marguerite Pinley, former PLP Cabinet Minister George Smith, current F&M St. Anne's MP Brent Simonet, and others, they say the COVID-19 protocols were in place. Do you feel safe voting in a pandemic?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I do. And I hope that everyone will come. All of those who have been vaccinated will come and make the X for freedom.
And I feel no problem, no difficulty whatsoever with sticking my finger in the inkwell or any COVID issues. I think the proper protocols were followed.
I followed the advice of the professionals, the doctors.
Now, as you can see, I interviewed people from both major political parties, and while they may be on different sides, they had one thing in common. They say everyone should stay safe at the polls. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Jasmine. Shifting gears now, more than 500 immigration officers called in sick today, according to Vice President of Bahamas Customs, Immigration and Allied Workers Union, Deron Brooks. He says the union didn't orchestrate the sick out, but it supports the actions of its members.
They're mentally, physically, and emotionally fatigued. They're just tired. They call them sick today. They've had enough. So they decided to do that, and the union fully supports their decision to do that.
Our news contacted Immigration Director Clarence Russell, who confirmed that immigration officers called in sick but wouldn't comment further, as he is working as a returning officer in the advance poll. He directed us to David Davis in the office of the Prime Minister. Brooks says around 9 a.m., many posts on New Providence and Grand Bahama were left empty, leaving limited senior and junior officers on shift. He added officers are upset about long overdue promotions and confirmations.
They're at the point where they're feeling that they're not being treated as well as they should be or could be, because they see other law enforcement agencies have promotion exercises after promotion exercise, and the immigration department has been, for the most part, neglected. The last major exercise was in 2015, and prior to that was in 2008, so you could see they're few and far apart by comparison.
Beautiful sunny conditions today. Greg Thompson has the latest.
Thanks, Christina. Welcome everybody for your first look at weather. Very warm day around the islands today on this pre-election day. Temperatures managed to get into the 90s once again. 84 degrees outside our studios right now in the partly cloudy skies. It's a bit on the humid side. Light and variable winds keeping those temperatures and that humidity up. Feels like in the mid to upper 80s. Satellite view, quiet around the islands. Dry air mass moving in, but we still had a couple isolated showers and thunderstorms, mostly across the northwest Bahamas. Maybe even an isolated shower expected tonight. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, hundreds of voters turn out on Grand Bahama. This as Bahamians call for more voting options. Find out more after this.
The Great True True Bahamian Treasure Hunt is here, where you can win great vacation prize packages to hotels throughout the Bahamas. Watch Our TV on weeknights between 6 and 11 p.m. for your 10 True True Bahamian clues. Take note of your answers and clues. You never know, you might see the same clue twice. Follow Our TV Originals on Facebook to submit your correct answers before 11 a.m. every Saturday. Watch Our News Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. to see if you are the weekly winner. If you didn't win, watch for clues next week because the contest runs all summer long. Go to Our TV Originals Facebook page for more information and contest details.
Long lines and high temperatures were a bad combination for the thousands of people who lined up outside polling divisions earlier today. Jared Higgs spent part of the day at Government High School and joins us live.
Thanks, Christina. That's right. It was a busy day here at GHS as thousands of voters from 3 different constituencies casted their early votes.
Today, I often say to my colleagues that we're dealing with a mini election here. And so you're talking about 30,000 plus voters.
Long lines and the sweltering heat frustrating many voters during the advance poll. An elderly voter falling out as she waited to vote at GHS. Even though she wanted to stay to cast her ballot, EMS personnel came and took her for further medical attention. PLP Mount Moriah candidate Mikkel Bonnaby thought the process was poorly planned.
We know that there are persons of very advanced age. There are absolutely no chairs here at all for the elderly. If you were to swing your camera, you would notice that there are people in their 80s with no chairs, and we're in a school that is equipped with chairs.
FNM Mount Moriah incumbent Marvin Dame says there were bound to be challenges.
I think it's working. People are registering, people are voting. And that's what's important.
Meanwhile, at C.R. Walker,
I saw a rocket dog. I saw a rocket dog. I saw a big rocket dog.
Rodney Monker strummed a guitar as he donned PLP colors. Earlier, incumbent Bainstown and Grandstown MP Travis Robinson found himself arguing with PLPs about people being allowed inside the building to vote. There was arguing and the lack of social distancing over at Government High, too.
This is the problem. People trying to jump the line. This is the problem,
But the process was pleasant enough for some. 71-year-old Linda Strawn voted early in the Anglican constituency.
It was quick. At least the line I was on, it moved pretty fast. I am happy that they had this advance voting where you don't have to mix too much with the general population.
Strawn says she brought a bit of extra protection with her when she went to vote.
Once you keep safe, I am fully vaccinated. For the others who don't want to get vaccinated, I am fully vaccinated and I'm trying to stay as safe as I can.
Well, it's a lot more quiet now as the voting has shut down. The next showdown on General Election Day, that's next Thursday. Reporting live from outside GHS, I am Jared Higgs. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Jared. Over on Grand Bahama, voters stood in line despite the rain and sunshine to cast their ballot. Kyle Joaquin joins us live from 8 Mile Rock.
Christina, we're along Mall Drive here in the center of downtown Freeport, where police cars not too long drove past carrying the ballots. Again, we're in Grand Bahama, where there are really 5 seats up for grabs, but really 3 seats that people are keeping their eyes on. That's East Grand Bahama, West Grand Bahama and Bimini, and of course there's the hot seat of Pine Ridge. The showdown is on for the hotly contested seat of Pine Ridge. Over at Jack Hayward Junior High, 738 voters were registered for the advance poll in that constituency.
As you can see, there was a lot of purple on the line, but they're now inside the polling station and getting ready to cast their vote. I'm enthusiastic about what I see. I'm excited.
Incumbent Frederick McAlpine feeling confident by what he saw out at the polling station. But so were 2 of his opponents.
Well, there will be support from the PLP coming to me. There'll be support who supported McAlpine last time. They will support me. So when the tally is done, then we will see where the votes are.
Nassau says a lot of stuff, but really when you go on the ground, you hear from the people, you hear that they are hurting, they have been hurting for a long time, and they know that I'm a person that makes things happen.
The process went smoothly for advance voting on Grand Bahama, despite some run-ins with supporters and the police. Over at St. George's High School, where the 2 larger constituencies were stationed, people were lined up from before sunrise.
So this is very good. We have chairs to accommodate the older folks, and the process seems to be moving fairly rapidly and smoothly.
And we are so happy, and we will not allow no devil and no government to take away our rights. And we are here this morning to mark the X to the candidate of our choice.
How Dr. Minister bring us this far through this, I feel like we should depend on him now to take us a little bit further, because somebody else get ahead now, they'll have to start completely over.
I feel very confident that the Progressive Liberal Party will win Central Grand Bahama, and I will be the new Member of Parliament for Central Grand Bahama, definitely.
The sun and intermittent rain posed a bit of a problem. AFNM Marco City candidate Michael Pintard said there are some measures that could have been put in place to help.
We should improve the system by putting a tunnel so that persons can be under a tunnel because they are outside, and so I think that would be extremely important.
Pintard's effort to set up a tent for those voters to stand under inside the gate didn't sit well with his opponents.
I'm encouraged. I'm really encouraged what I've been seeing, particularly on the ground, and so I'm cautiously optimistic.
Now again, the race is on. We are 7 days away from September 16th. 5 seats up for grabs, and all of the candidates feel as though they have this one in the bag. But for now, we're live in Freeport, Grand Bahama. Kyle Joaquin, Our News.
Thanks, Kyle. Meanwhile, the long lines at polling stations prompting many voters and candidates to call for officials to explore other ways to cast their ballot. Giorgio Bain has that.
Chaotic scene at many of the other polling stations. Over at Doris Johnson, it was relatively quiet. That polling station housed voters from the Elizabeth, Yamacraw, and St. Anne's constituencies. While there weren't much complaints, they did agree that the voting process does need to be reformed.
To me, this is not protecting the over 65s. Why didn't you have all the polling locations that would take place on the general poll open today to alleviate all this lack of social distancing? I mean, these people who are here today are the ones that need the most protection. I just don't understand the process.
At first, the lines were wrapped around the school sidewalk, but due to insufficient social distancing, quick changes had to be made.
Elizabeth in the middle, Yamacraw is on there. Please practice social distancing.
Initially, I almost turned around, went back to try it this afternoon when things quiet down. I think by this afternoon, the election will be over here.
Voters and candidates alike agree that the voting process needs more options.
Quite frankly, we have no options. All right. We had begun the process now of advancing our Bahamian electoral system, but even that will take a bit more time. You had major focus on a series of different things, so we realistically don't have no options. So it's a waste of time talking about it.
Former St. Anne's MP Brent Simonet noted that advancements have been made.
We've just changed the election laws so you don't have to have your card every year, so that's a step forward. I think today it's now allowing people like myself, 65 and older, to vote, which is another positive. So under the Ingram administration, we allowed overseas voting and absence. So it's progressive. I think, yes, when we get further down and we digitize, we should be able to do far more.
PLP candidate for St. Anne's, Chris Saunders, said he's not sure if the country is ready yet.
I think that we need to take a serious look at voting reform. Are we ready yet for a complete online mail-in ballot, drive-up ballot? I'm not sure if we're there yet, but I think that we need to definitely explore the way to get there.
Now, given some of today's confusion, voters say they're interested in seeing how next week's process will roll out. Reporting from the Parliamentary Registration Department, I'm Giorgio Bain. Back to you, Christina.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
Still to come, overseas voters share their experience at the polls. Stay tuned.
The Great True True Bahamian Treasure Hunt is here, where you can win great vacation prize packages to hotels throughout the Bahamas. Watch our TV on weeknights between 6 and 11 p.m. for your 10 True True Bahamian clues. Take note of your answers and clues. You never know, you might see the same clue twice. Follow our TV originals on Facebook to submit your correct answers before 11 a.m. every Saturday. Watch our news Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. to see if you are the weekly winner. If you didn't win, watch for clues next week because the contest runs all summer long. Go to our TV Originals Facebook page for more information and contest details.
This is our news. Welcome back. A smoother process for some overseas voters who say the process from registering to vote online to casting their vote was almost seamless.
I applied online and I came in, it was about a 5-minute process.
This is the first time that I did everything again that they told us to do, and they allowed me to vote this morning.
Bahamas Consul General to Atlanta, Astra Ambrister Roll, explains the process.
I walked in, casted my vote. They made me sanitize my hands. They made sure my mask was properly covering my nose and my mouth.
In Washington, D.C., Bahamas Consul General Theo Neely also cast his vote in the advance poll. Several first-time voters traveled to D.C. to exercise their constitutional right.
It feels great to vote for the first time. I'm so excited to be a part of the voting team now.
Feels pretty good. I was happy that I was able to execute my civic duty from abroad. I am based out of North Carolina, so it's quite a drive to get here. I am missing some class, but I thought it was important to be able to come out, even given everything that's going on in the world today, and still vote and do what I felt was right for my country.
But the advance poll wasn't without its challenges, even overseas. Our news understands that some voters who showed up to vote at the Miami consulate with their registration approval letter were told their names were not on the register and would only be allowed to vote on a protest or yellow ballot. All of those votes cast today have been sealed in ballot boxes and will be counted along with all of the other votes cast on Election Day. Up next, Greg is back with the extended forecast. Stay with us.
The great True True Bahamian treasure hunt is here, where you can win great vacation prize packages to hotels throughout the Bahamas. Watch our TV on weeknights between 6 and 11 p.m. for your 10 True True Bahamian clues. Take note of your answers and clues. You never know, you might see the same clue twice. Follow our TV originals on Facebook to submit your correct answers before 11 a.m. every Saturday. Watch our news Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. to see if you are the weekly winner. If you didn't win, watch for clues next week because the contest runs all summer long. Go to our TV originals Facebook page for more information and contest details.
Welcome back to our news. Mostly sunny and pleasant conditions ahead. Greg is back in the Weather Center.
Thanks again, Christina. Welcome back, everybody, for your second look at weather. Of course, we have Hurricane Larry out there, which is moving off our screen, well out towards the north and east, moving just to the east of Bermuda. Swells affecting the Bahamas from that system will continue to produce some very choppy seas as well as some dangerous surf. So if you plan on doing any boating or beaching, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. Then we have Tropical Depression Mindy that moved across Florida last evening. It's now moving into the Gulf Stream. That will move away from us and weaken as it pulls towards the north. The National Hurricane Center now watching another area down in the Caribbean for some potential for development over the next couple of days. Your boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas tonight to tomorrow. Southeast southerly winds at 10 knots. Seas still up to 7 feet in those swells. And for the southeast Bahamas, basically the same forecast. There are 7-foot swells expected along most of the eastern islands. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Tuesday. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everybody. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg, and thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. Stay tuned for a special episode of On the Record with Jerome Sawyer. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.